right, so with me today from Ames, Iowa, and known as one of the mullets of podcasting, I'm happy to welcome Tanner Winterhof to the North American Ag Spotlight. So thank you so much, Tanner, for being here. And I'm a listener to your podcast, and I love it. And you want to tell me a little bit about how it started, and it's Farm4Profit and where it all came from.
Yes, I'm very happy to be a part of this and very honored to join in. So Farm4Profit started as a little dream that myself and an insurance agent, so I'm a banker by profession, and an insurance agent had by putting a meeting together annually on educating our farmers on more ways to achieve higher levels of profitability. You know, what a farmer chooses to do with the extra profit is their own choice, but we were going to work to deliver a message on giving tips, tricks, trends, techniques, getting the latest information to all of our clients at the time once a year. Well, that meeting went over quite well, and it grew to more area farmers joining in. And after 6 years of doing the conference, people were asking for a more regular source of information, and that's where the podcast started. So in July of 2019, we released our first episode and started off just basically sharing the basics. What can farmers do to achieve higher levels of profitability? So we would put that together every other week. We would drop a new episode, share some type of an insight, whether it was from insurance pricing, talking to your banker, negotiating with any type of business person, you know, what the biggest and best characteristics of being a good customer are. I mean, there's all kinds of topics that we've covered so far in our short history. And had been doing that every other week. One of my real good friends and an area farmer approached us and pitched the idea in the spring of 2020 to also do a Farm for Fun show. So we have our Farm4Profit podcast, but every other week is constructive. How can your farm achieve higher levels of profitability? And in the off weeks, we have a lot more fun. We lighten up. We talk about current events, we enjoy beverages, we interview guests, everything from social media celebrities to local influencers to musicians, and just have a really good time. And that's where the mullet of agriculture podcasts come from. We can have a party in the back while still remaining the business in the front side of it.
Oh, I love the Farm for Fun days, and I love craft beer. So I'm always jealous that you guys get to drink these flights of beer. But I get to listen and learn about different breweries when I can travel again, right? But yeah,
exactly. So that's kind of been our mission. We're trying to stay as entertaining as possible in both the Farm4Profit and Farm for Fun shows. Certainly got us out of our box a little bit, loosening up. You know, being in the banking profession, and then my co-host Dave Whitaker, who's an auctioneer and real estate agent on the ag land side. You know, we are very professional a lot of the time. So Corey's idea, the farmer, bringing in, lighten the mood, loosen things up, still deliver a really valuable message, and have fun while we're doing it.
That's right. Yeah. It's a kind of a funny mix, right? The banker and the insurance, and it's, not the typical sit down and have a beer with farmers kind of idea. But, you've brought it to such a cool place where it's like, yeah, here are these resources that we can feel comfortable around. And I think that's so cool.
No, I think that's a huge thing. And me being in the banking profession, it's interesting to see that there aren't a lot of farmers that are truly friends with their banker. Mm-hmm. Everybody keeps their banker close because it's a necessity, but to actually loosen up and be able to ask the questions that you want to ask is important. And we're hoping that we can demonstrate that we're all humans. We all want to have a good time, and we all want to run successful businesses. So if we can give you a little bit of a tip, a trick, something that's trending, maybe the latest technology that we can provide with you, hopefully there's a little bit of information everybody can grab out of each episode and take that back home, put it into their operation.
Right. Yeah. And you have some pretty interesting guests as well. Can you tell me about some of the highlights and, some interesting guests that you've had on?
Yeah, starting this, I never would have thought we'd have access to the guests that we do. Mm-hmm. We started off with the local people in my network, the attorneys, the accountants, the insurance agents, people that were locally and around here that gave solid information, great statistics, stuff to help your farm grow. But since then, we've had an interview with a former FBI hostage negotiator that now resides in Switzerland.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite episodes. Another favorite of mine is the athletics director for Iowa State University, Jamie Pollard. He talked about how culture, how making sure you got the right people in your operation, whether it's a football team or your farm, really matters. We've interviewed social media celebrities, Aaron Holbert, Andy Pastor. We've got a long list of people that want to be on the podcast, especially the Farm for Fun shows. But it really is a lot of fun. We talked to the next Monday. So, this video is going to be out there for an indefinite amount of time, but the first episode that comes out in October is the state of Iowa executive director of the FSA and USDA.
Oh, cool.
So, really cool to get some really influential people on as guests and share their wisdom and expertise. That way, David and I, as the hosts of Farm for Profit shows, just can work at being good at asking questions on behalf of the farmers. Mm-hmm. And then when we have the guests on the Farm for Fun shows, Corey, David, and I can really focus on getting their stories and sharing how they got to where they are, what makes them tick, and maybe you can pull something out of those as well.
Yeah, that's great. So during this crazy COVID year, have you found challenges or opportunities? What are you feeling?
Yeah, so we had never used a Zoom call before, mm-hmm. and thought that we had limited ourselves to when guests could be in studio. So we were able to adapt. We're able to do, well, like Andy Pastor, he's from Canada. We were able to have a phone call with him. We had a Zoom call with Aaron from Indiana, and then of course the Zoom call with Switzerland. Just the amount of resources now that are at our fingertips to bring episodes in the future is completely unlimited. And it even happened to the point to where Corey, one of our co-hosts, got the coronavirus. So most certainly it's created adaptability, managing schedules, but really has kind of put the world at our fingertips to not only make this a podcast from central Iowa, like you mentioned, recording just south of Ames. We have listeners now on 6 of the 7 continents and are, trending in different nations throughout the world, which is really cool to see the charts come back from Spain and Argentina and Brazil and Canada, to really see that this message is being utilized all over the world.
Right. Yeah. And that's something that's really cool. And I found the same thing, through this. There's, the people that are willing to listen and pivot a little bit, and it's really, there's a lot of opportunity happening right now. And the world has definitely gotten smaller. I used to think it was small because I could, get to the other coast in a few hours, but now just from home, I can talk to everybody. Right. So I think that as long as we embrace the positives and just keep learning, and I think that we can probably build even stronger community than what we had before.
Yeah, it's been really fun. The sense of community is something that I didn't anticipate from the podcast either.
Right.
It was fun having our annual conferences and being a local resource, but the number of people that have reached out from all over the place with questions, whether it's related to banking on my personal side, looking for forming that advisory team that we almost preach about every single week. It's been really fun to get those correspondence, and like you said, can communicate with someone in the drop of a hat now and make sure that everybody gets questions answered, topics put together, and possibly set themselves up for success.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. So where do you see you guys going from here? What's on the radar for Farm for Profit?
Yeah, the biggest thing is getting through harvest. This is recorded in fall, so we start with the short vision, and then we get into a long-term one. Unfortunately, I don't think that our annual conference is going to happen on the scale that we want it to happen in 2020. Unfortunately, I think there's some other larger conferences that have set precedents. It's difficult to line up sponsors and get the funding secured to provide all the resources we want for that. So we're really looking forward to 2021. So that gets us through the end of 2020. And we've already started having some really strategic conversations with other podcast hosts about doing some crossover episodes. We've got really good resources lined up for some more profitability episodes. Corey never stops thinking on the Farm for Fun side. We've got a strategic partnership right now on the beverage side. We're looking to grow those and continue to increase the availability of the guests that we have at our fingertips. So it's not stopping. We'll continue to be there every Monday, whether you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, through Amazon Prime, iHeartRadio. We'll continue to get her out there, all the platforms that we can find. You can always get it off of our website, Farm4Profit just Farm4Profit.com. But we'll be there every single Monday, continue to try and bring the best content that we have and the best guests that we can line up. But it is not one of those things we plan on slowing down at all.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that the future of podcasting in agriculture is really so incredible. Everyone in the cab of their tractor, they can load up as many podcasts as possible and just binge listen, right? So that's what I do.
Yep.
I binge listen, hours and hours, and then find somebody else. And, the reason we're doing these spotlights about podcasters too is because it is such a great resource and it's entertaining at the same time. And when you can just listen, it's such great content. And that's why with North American Ag, we really want to compile this so that we can show everybody what, what's available out there and that these are our recommendations. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun learning about the podcast world when I first had started listening. And then a couple of years after starting to listen, actually have one of our own, which is a lot of fun because I've always wanted to get the message that we deliver to kids getting an ag degree, an ag business, or any type of an ag degree from a college. I think there's some valuable lessons, and this is at your fingertips. Just like you said, you put your earbuds in, you binge listen, and it's almost like continuing education, whether it's our podcast or others, whether it's for fun or for constructive, building your knowledge base. You can get a lot done just by tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome. And thank you so much for joining me today. And we'll release this on to YouTube and then hopefully get lots of listeners.
No, fantastic. We're looking forward to it. And again, honored to get to be a part of it. We're always looking to help get everything out there, more information we can provide and help promote too. So when you do go live, make sure you keep me posted so that way we can share our side.
Yep. That sounds awesome.
Very cool. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any parting words you want to leave with the masses?
No, it's just the resource, the community. And I think in our local area, we've seen it more in the last 18 months, how strong a community can be, whether it's your church community, your friends and family, your neighbors, or even in the industry across the world. Having a support group, people you can run ideas by, people that you can just gripe to every once in a while. The mental stability of this world, this nation, is extremely crucial. And even though there's challenging times, somebody else has probably gone through it with you, before you, might have experience and help you get through it. Don't be afraid to ask, reach out, and certainly if we can be a resource like that to others, that's what we're here to do.
Awesome. Very good. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.